I've been reading this book recently by Jay Shetty. I've got it on my desk here, Think Like a Monk, and you are referenced countless times throughout the book. And Jay talks about your mentorship and what that did for him. What do you remember about when you became the mentor to Jay Shetty? What do you remember of that early mentorship, and ultimately, are you proud of the person he became to be?
Of course, I am extremely proud that he is using the entire knowledge which we shared with him in such a transformational way, in such a powerful way by which people across the world, in every possible situation and continent, they are gaining a lot from that experience. And therefore, of course, when I first met him, I never imagined that he would actually be like a mover and shaker like this. But one thing about him right from the day one was his sincerity, and he was extremely honest and open. And in fact, I have been mentoring so many young people right from last 27 years. So in London, I was coming from 2004 onwards, and so many other youth in London were also in touch with me. And he was another person. But the way he connected was he really took to the study of the ancient wisdom of especially the Bhagavad Gita very, very seriously. And he was pretty intelligent, and he was doing well in his education also after that. And then, of course, during his monkhood, he really did his activities very sincerely. All kinds of menial activities which he was asked to do, he would do. And along with that, he was also very sincere in his approach to the studies. And in fact, you may not have seen his handwriting, but his handwriting is really one of the most beautiful handwritings I've ever seen of anyone, just like pearls. So he would take notes very diligently. And then, in 2015, he got this calling that he should really start presenting, this knowledge in a way which would impact people's lives in the language they could understand. And I think, what he did after that was history, as they say. And I hope and pray that he continues from strength to strength, impacting people's lives more and more.
And he talks about the fact that by leaving the ashram, he's been able to provide more of a service on a wider scale. So on that topic then, why is it so important for every one of us to look to serve? What does serving do for us?
Right. So this is a very, very important point, because sometimes people think that life is only about having money and fancy cars and gadgets and clothes and all this kind of stuff. So there is an interesting verse in the Subhashit which says that Ashanama Manushanam Kachit Ascharya Shrinkhala Baddha Eva Pradavanti Mukta Tishtanti Panguvat. It says that all of us have desires. We could use the desire either to serve or to enjoy. And so it is said, when you try to use the desires to enjoy, Asha Nama Manushyanam Kachit Ascharya Shrinkala, desire is like a very unique kind of a rope. And what does this rope do? Baddha Eva Pradhavanti. It's a very unique kind of a rope which has an opposite effect. That when we are tied by the rope of desire, those who are tied by the rope of desire, they are moving around restlessly, going from object to object, person to person, place to place, trying to enjoy and still dissatisfied. Mukta tishtanti panguvat. Whereas those who are free from such desires to enjoy and are dedicated only to serve, they are extremely peaceful. So therefore, the desire to enjoy can be at the level of the senses, where we want to enjoy some object. It can be at the level of the mind, where we are trying to enjoy certain emotion. It can be at the level of the intellect, where we are attached to some particular idea, or we are, trying to enjoy at the level of the ego, where we are trying to express our identity as better than others. So therefore, there may be situations where people may misunderstand us, but we have to tolerate circumstantial misunderstanding. And so service requires a lot of patience, and expertise involves the patience to avoid the distractions and the impatience to act too soon. And so the Bhagavad Gita shares with us the happiness sutra. Maximize the spiritual absorption of service, minimize the material attachments of sense gratification. And you may think, oh, this thought is bothering me, it is forcing me to enjoy. But a persistent thought may not always be pertinent. And therefore, Krishna describes to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that the fundamental foundation for service is discipline. Because if one is constantly self-absorbed and thinking about oneself, one cannot think about the object of service. And what is discipline? Gita defines discipline as action combined with intention. That is discipline. And therefore, when we are trying to serve others, we are actually expressing our friendship. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am your well-wishing friend. And the fundamental foundation of friendship is transparency, it is openness, it is integrity, it is honesty, and only on this basis the relationship can be actually established. Therefore, how do you establish such relationships? Only when we empathize with other person's feelings rather than being obsessed with one's own. And so once we are in the mode of goodness, we can make a life-changing, positive decision that will elevate and transform. And when a servant leader is in the mood of such service, he can lead others into a bright future. Then, that is only possible when a leader who is in the mood of service can reliably interpret an event. And that interpretation has to be based on his authentic intention, wisdom, intelligence, and maturity. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is emphasizing on service. And if we do not serve, all the knowledge which we study and hear about will remain theoretical. And we are all engaged in this spiritual journey to increase our faith. But if we do not act on that faith, and that action on the faith is known as service.